Athletes are whispering about them, regulators are fighting over them, and in the biohacking world, they're being called the most powerful health upgrade since stem cells. The future of medicine is peptides. This is Biohacking News. Hello and welcome to Biohacking News. I'm Tony Wrighton, going to go straight on and bring on Kyal Van Der Leest. Kyal, how you doing?
Good, thanks Tony. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for coming to the pop-up studio.
Yeah, it's nice to make it halfway around the world to have a chat.
Yeah, I know. How long did it? I don't even want to know how long it took you to get here, but
26 hours.
Oh God. Okay. Well, you are here and we are live in London, and it's really nice to be doing this in person in this pop-up studio because when I started this podcast, it was all in person. And now most of it is online, and that's a lot easier. But it's just nice to connect and get brought supplements and peptides from friends. So it's the first time we've actually met in person. And I wanted to do this podcast today because, I'm meeting up with my 5 best mates tonight. We're going for dinner, and they're all really quite into their health. Not as much as me, but all of them have probably heard of peptides, but they don't really know what they do, and they don't take any. And apart from on my skin, I don't take peptides either. So can we start with a little 101?
Sure.
Why is the future of medicine peptides? And by the way, I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday. Half of the whole podcast was on peptides and how amazing they are. And then we'll get into some of the crazy stuff that they can do.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, everyone actually has peptides in their body. There's thousands of them that our body makes, and you can supplement them. That's what my company does, LVLUP Health. We provide exogenous peptides, which your body knows what they are. It's got insulin, it's got glucagon, it's got, GH, all these peptides that have really powerful effects in the body. They're like, they speak the exact same language that your body, recognizes. It's not like a drug where it kind of shouts at your body and makes it do something, or a naturopathic or a herbal extract, which is kind of like it's communication to the body, but it's not the same language because it's botanical versus human. These peptides are bioidentical to what our body naturally produces. The biggest one that everybody, I think, who's into health or peptides has heard about is BPC-157.
Yeah.
That one is body protective compound. It is a chain of amino acids, BPCs, 15 of them strung together, to create this peptide that is made in our stomach acid. It's made in there to repair the stomach because the amount of acid we have in our stomach, it's a pretty volatile area. So the peptide is made by our gastric secretions to repair our stomach, because that is, you don't want acid causing havoc in the rest of your body. And there's a high cell turnover in that area. So our body naturally produces it, and in ideal circumstances, the amount that our body makes in that stomach would then trickle down through our GI tract and help our gut heal and be really strong and have really strong, good integrity. But, the modern world means our gut are constantly getting assaulted by lots of things. You might have, be on PPIs or things that block stomach acid, and, all these different things are basically depleting, creating what I call a peptide deficiency. Therefore, you can remedy that deficiency with supplementation. It's kind of like anything that our body makes, like these non-essential amino acids. A lot of people are deficient in them, despite the fact that our body can make them. Peptides are pretty much the same sort of thing. There's heaps of different ones. When it comes to supplementation of them, there's maybe about 20 or 30 that anyone who deep dives into peptides will come across. There's ones that help with muscle recovery, like the growth hormone ones. There's ipamorelin, tesamorelin. There's growth hormone secretagogues like CJC 1295, I think it's called.
I want to get into some of these in a sec because all this sounds amazing, and I definitely want you to help me build bigger guns in the gym. So basically, peptides we've got in our body already, and presumably as we get older, we create less of them. Is that right?
Exactly right. The perfect example is one called GHK, copper. It's the one you use on your skin. It's like an anti-aging. It helps with collagen. There's studies showing that it's in your serum, so it's really easy to test your levels of GHK. When you're older, you've got like 20 to 30% of the amount of GHK in circulation that you would have when you're younger. So that's where it actually signals for your body to restore youth genes, to upregulate collagen, to repair all of the cells of the epidermis of your skin, but also the dermal layer of your gut too, if you take it orally. So they are made naturally in your body, and just like everything in time, like NAD or all the things that your body makes, it deteriorates and declines over time. So
right. Yeah, and certainly with the peptides I've been using on my skin, I've been looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, yeah, I'm quite happy with life. I genuinely think it's working, and I haven't really ever felt like that about a moisturizer before. So that's pretty impressive.
The one that you're using is a small chain of peptides. GHK is just GHK, 3 amino acids.
Right.
It's small enough that it can penetrate through your skin and have effects on the dermal layer, but then it also can get into circulation. And GHK, the reason why it works so well for your skin is it helps with stem cell proliferation. It's an amazing peptide that our body utilizes every day. It makes it itself, and we can just bolster the amount that we have in our body through an oral supplement or an injectable or even a topical. So that's a really good broad spectrum one that if you look on your skincare stuff and it says peptides, there's a 90% chance that peptide will be GHK.
Right.
It's ubiquitous in skincare now, and it's going to be in everything. It's really good. And the advantage of that is it's becoming a lot cheaper. Like peptides used to be these wildly expensive ingredients because nobody knew about them. There were very few people making them and a very low demand. But GHK is cheaper than some botanical extracts now, that it's become so ubiquitous in skincare that...
That's great.
Yeah, it's becoming a lot more accessible to people.
So I want to get into the fun stuff in just a sec, some of those ones that you mentioned and what they might be able to do. But firstly, very quick, and this might be slightly dull, but I just want to check. So basically, what you're creating is, are you creating synthetic forms of the peptides that are already in the body?
We are creating bioidentical forms.
Right.
Like BPC-157 is a fragment of body protection compound, a larger peptide. When your body makes it, it will break up in stomach acid, and then you'll be left with that 15 amino acid chain to a percentage of it. We're creating the exact same sequence. It's pretty easy. It's like if your body's creating the words, using amino acid sequences, peptide sequences, you can make the word yourself out of the amino acids, literally piece it together, and then create a bioidentical, exactly what the body would recognize sequence of this amino acid, of this peptide. The difference...
And the body recognizes it.
The body recognizes it.
In a way that it doesn't with pharmaceuticals.
Well, it can with the pharmaceuticals. We'll talk about GLP-1s because they are bioidentical but modified. This is the difference between ones like that can't be patented, BPC, KPV, GHK. They are identical to what your body makes versus like Ozempic. Our body makes GLP-1, but what makes Ozempic unique is they've modified it to last in circulation for like a week. GLP-1 doesn't last for a week. That's the difference, and that's why they're able to patent it and make it their own. And that's what makes it not natural, any of these modifications. So there are peptides that we use that are all bioidentical and 100% identical to what our body makes, but then we can also take that and modify them ourselves too. And then it's kind of a gray area because we say we're 100% natural. This is exactly what the body makes. But then you can use things like lorazepam, which our body doesn't make that. That is a synthetic peptide, but it has amazing effects on the body as far as leaky gut and barrier repair. So I kind of float in this gray area of, provided it elicits no harm to the person, to the people. I'm trained as a naturopath, and our philosophy is first do no harm, start with the least intervention, the least force possible to get to the result with your interventions. And peptides are a heavy hitting tool, but so long as they're not coming with these huge side effect profiles, which you can see with these modified peptides like the GLP-1s or pharmaceutical drugs, they all come with heavy side effects usually. I have no qualms using them. And my brand and the peptides that I use and have in my formulas are all orally bioavailable. There's a huge limitation to that. Like as I said, there's a catalog of hundreds or dozens of peptides that people might be interested in using. A lot of those need to be injected. They're too large.
I thought all of them needed to be injected until I heard about your company.
Yeah, well, most of them do need to be injected, and that's just to do with the size of it. Let's just, back to that analogy of we creating the word needs to be really short, like, grade 1, grade 2 level.
Yeah.
Like GHK is 3 letters. BPC is an exception to that. Normally it would be too large, but our body makes it in the stomach, so that's an exception. There's a 500 kilodalton rule, which is just a molecular size, basically. Anything over that or anything that's too long will need to be injected. Okay. That's why diabetics need to inject insulin still.
And do you inject some as well as take them?
I've done that in the past. I don't tend to like injecting things if I can avoid it. That's why I'm, I guess, selfishly do liposoming of peptides, ones that would not normally work orally. You can make it work to a certain point.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's fragments of ones like thymosin beta-4, TB4, aka TB500. That is a peptide
that's getting very technical there, Kyal.
So that's one of the 2 peptides that people would inject as part of the Wolverine healing stack. If you've listened to Joe Rogan.
Wolverine healing stack, yeah. Okay, we'll get onto that in a sec. Let's start then with this one. Neuroregenerate. This has got liposomal neuroprotein, peptides, BONF boosting botanicals, and then other stuff as well. But the main thing is the peptides, right?
Yeah.
What does this one exactly do?
Well, that off-label I developed for my father, who was getting early stage Alzheimer's. Basically, I think it wasn't diagnosed, but he was repeating himself a lot. So I looked at ways you can increase BDNF, and BDNF is brain-derived neurotropic factor, or basically miracle grow for your brain. When you take lion's mane mushroom, something a lot of your listeners would have heard about, that boosts BDNF.
Yeah.
When I found out about the peptides, dihexa and P21, they increase BDNF 7 magnitudes more than your own endogenous BDNF will. Like, it's that much more powerful than that is. So it's being studied for neurodegenerative conditions, Alzheimer's, dementia, and it's basically just the most powerful way that I could figure out that you can boost BDNF levels and therefore increase neurogenesis and aptogenesis and all of the good things that you want for brain repair.
And so did he say that was for your father or your father-in-law?
It was for my father, but also for me, because like yourself, I'd been through mold issues and my brain was absolutely fried from that.
Right, yeah.
The mycotoxins, I believe, damaged my brain slightly. It was 3 years, as well as sinus colonization of mold.
Oh, tell me about it.
I could not even put a sentence together. So that's my attempt to A, fix my brain so I can do podcasts like this one and be fluent and not mess up my mechanisms. Yeah. But then B, make sure my dad didn't, because Alzheimer's is in our family. My opa, because I'm Dutch, my granddad, he ended up with Alzheimer's and saw that and it was horrible. So that's my attempt to prevent my dad from going down that route.
And what effect did it have on your dad?
He doesn't repeat himself. His partner's not sick of him telling the same story anymore, so they're just anecdotal.
So he's improved?
He's improved significantly.
That's great.
He does still live in a little bit of mold, but you know, it's just like a life jacket sort of thing, rather than if he moved out and detoxed that, and he mightn't need the product, but while he's choosing to live in that place, despite me telling him,
I should take one of these now, shouldn't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
This will be, I mean, what is it, like one a day?
Yeah, 1 or 2. It's up to everyone's got different levels of sensitivity to things that increase blood flow. There's a lot of things in it. Like, I don't formulate gently with
you don't. Because the irony of this is you just met Caroline Allen, who was my previous guest here at the Pop-Up, and one of the things we were discussing is that we're both very sensitive to supplements, but I'm guessing you probably are as well, because that's what happens when you've been exposed to mold and you've got mycotoxins.
100% I am. I was. Now I just need heavy hitting support, honestly, for my brain. So that's the heaviest hitting of the formulas I have when it comes to...
But I won't overreact.
There's no stimulants. Like, I'm sensitive to caffeine. That's why I like paraxanthine. That's a really good ingredient that I use in the range.
You use that in this?
No, it's not in that one.
Okay.
You'll be fine. Yeah. The Bacopa, ginkgo, lion's mane, DHF, all of the good things, the herbals, the botanical stuff that I learned as a naturopath are in it, combined with the peptides. That's how I really like to formulate. We take the best of medicine and science with the peptides, fuse them with the ancient wisdom of botanicals, and I'm also trained as a nutritionist, so all of the cofactors like NAC and... what are they? Dihydroberberine, all the good things that help your brain from a nutritional, a naturopathic, and a peptide level are all put in the formulas together. So
I mean, I love this. So neuroregenerate. So how quick will this kick in?
Give it 20 minutes.
Terrific. Okay, so that's neuroregenerate. What about peptides? I guess we should quickly mention the stomach. You mentioned the peptide for the stomach there. Which one was that? Was that BPC 157?
Oh, there's heaps for the stomach. The one that I think would be of most interest for gut health to your audience is KPV.
Okay.
KPV is a fragment of alpha MSH, which is an amazing anti-inflammatory. If you've ever had mold exposure, your alpha MSH levels will absolutely plummet. It is one of the key components and the core things of Richie Shoemaker's protocols for detoxing mold. And it's such a powerful anti-inflammatory. The melanocortin system in your brain is basically your anti-inflammatory system for your body. When you're around mold, it basically just depletes that alpha MSH because of that exposure to it. It's like glutathione will go down low, vitamin C will get low, and alpha MSH will get low. KPV is a peptide fragment of that larger peptide, which is alpha MSH. This is amazing to supplement it because mold will cause a KPV deficiency. It will also cause deficiencies in other peptides which are derived from that alpha MSH. Sorry if I'm getting way too technical.
So just to back up, basically, I've got this peptide in my body naturally, but it's been depleted because my histamine issues did come from mold exposure, which turned into mycotoxins in the body. Therefore, my levels of this peptide would be low. And what would that be causing in the body?
So levels of that being low would cause histamine intolerance. It's one of the main mast cell stabilizing peptides in our body. It also activates, it combats the NF-kappa beta inflammasome pathway. So it will directly reduce all the cytokines, all of the prostaglandins, and all the histamine, the three big drivers of the inflammation that mold causes.
Especially
KPV.
in the stomach.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So it's basically calm everything down in the stomach. And even if, I mean, you know, selfishly speaking, I guess I'm 98% better than I used to be in terms of histamine intolerance. But there's a lot of people listening to this who won't be. But is it still worth taking in terms of just sort of gut lining in general, gut health?
Yeah. A lot of the studies on it are looking at IBD, like Crohn's and colitis, and finding it is very impactful for reducing the inflammation in the gut, because that melanocortin system is in our brain, but it's everywhere in our body. And it's one of the primary things that if we use that to increase MSH in our, or to work as the active fragment of MSH in our gut, then it reduces all of the inflammation. It reduces IL-6, which is one of the main inflammatory cytokines that you have in your whole body, but in the gut it helps too. And then you combine it with other peptides like the BPC we mentioned. That one's really good for actually healing the cells of the gut lining. The KPV is going to work significantly better in combination with BPC, because it will reduce that inflammation, which if that's constantly present, we're not going to heal. That inflammation causes inflammaging. It causes a cascade of negative effects that basically keep us stuck in this spiral. So KPV is like the circuit breaker for that inflammation. And especially the histamine-driven inflammation. Like histamine itself too is directly damaging to the gut lining. Its purpose is to flush our body. When we have histamine, our body releases it intelligently in the short term to try and flush whatever's causing us to react, right? So, and in that flushing reaction, there's tears, there's mucus, but then there's also an opening of the gut lining to flush the contents of our gut. But in a chronic situation, that is leaky gut, and that causes, like, short term, that might be good if you've eaten like a bad oyster or something like that. Get it out there as quickly as possible. I want that permeability of the gut to clear out all of the crap that's causing the issue. But when it's mold that's the issue and you're in that for months, or if it's colonized in your sinuses, that body's response with the histamine is chronic. And that leaky gut is only something we want short term. Long term, we want it sealed. Otherwise, all of the contents of our gut, all the bacterial endotoxins, all the things that cause systemic inflammation are just going to have a free pass into the rest of your body. So that's where KPV, things like BPC, that liraglutide peptide I mentioned before, that seals up the gut and basically restores integrity to our gut, calms down our immune system, allows us to actually digest our food properly and absorb our nutrients. So gut health is in the hierarchy of healing from mold. Gut health is like number 2 in the list. Number 1 being neurolinguist, neurofeedback and cortisol, stress response, all that sort of stuff. Number 2 being the gut, for sure.
So with inflammation, I want to ask you more about inflammation in a sec, and not just gut inflammation. I know you're interested in Portugal, and we've got a swim club. We meet at 9:15 every Wednesday morning. Nice. We go for a dip, a 20-minute swim. We swim around a rock, and then we come back and we have a coffee on the beach. And it's my favourite social hour or two of the week. And I've met some really lovely people through it, and all different ages. But I'm always amazed at how many inflammation physical issues people are suffering with. A lot of bad backs and necks and knees. You know, people really do suffer with these issues. And I want to ask whether peptides can help with them in a second, because I know, well, I've heard Joe Rogan talk about injecting in terms of inflammation in various parts of the body. Before that though, why haven't peptides penetrated modern medicine already? And how long have they, in the way that you're selling them, how long have they been around for?
Peptides have been around, I guess, for bodybuilders and biohackers for at least 10, 15 years or so. A lot of the research on them, initial research, was done in the 90s, so they've been around for ages. Insulin as a peptide's been around for ages. It's a critical medicine. So we've known about them. It's just these new era ones have kind of been around for 10 years. Pharma don't really want to know about them. In fact, they want nobody to know about them, because unless they recategorize them as biologics, they can't own them.
So they are trying to recategorize them, aren't they? Biologics.
I thought they might innovate and make them like they've done with the GLP-1s, i.e. let's take BPC 157, let's modify it, let's make it our own thing that we can patent. But they've decided not to do that because it's not really working out that well, nor is it necessary to get the effects. You take their BPC versus what our body makes, it's going to have the same effect.
So some of the pharmaceutical companies, I believe, are trying to reclassify peptides so that people like you and naturopaths and nutritionists and people who are offering a very cost-effective form of treatment in lots of different areas can't do it anymore.
Basically, I thought they would have adopted the approach, if you can't beat them, join them, but instead they've gone, if you can't beat them, then destroy them. And that's unfortunate, because I mean, I always am looking at what they are doing from my perspective to try and see, well, all right, maybe the innovations in this space, if they're sinking millions and millions of dollars into peptides, then maybe I can find something that is similar to bring to market. And they have been looking, they're making GLP-1s oral, they're doing all these other things, but the cat's out of the bag. You can't patent all the ones that are working well, and they're not going to do much better than we are already doing with these things. It'll just be make it last longer, or there's not too much they can do other than squash it. So it's a bit of a concerning time, especially in America. There's some glimmers of hope there, but I honestly don't see them going anywhere. I don't think they're going to lose, and knock on wood, nothing will come of it. And if it does, then I'll just go down fighting, swinging, bringing these to people. I don't really care what the risks are. They've helped my life. They've helped thousands of people who've used the products. And I just won't let that happen from my perspective, and whatever comes of that, so be it.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to meet you down a dark alley defending defending your peptides with your life. Okay, so let's say someone on my swim club has got a chronic back issue or a chronic knee issue. Are there peptides that can help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's anti-inflammatory peptides. BPC is probably the heaviest hitter of all of the recovery peptides.
Oh, right. So not just the gut, but it's helping all over the body.
Well, if we look at where inflammation comes from, if you fix the gut, you're going to resolve probably 80% of the body's inflammation, because that's where 80% of our immune system is, right? If we have an integral gut lining, our immune system can calm down, it can stop producing these inflammatory cytokines. This inflammation is going to drop down systemically, and that might be enough to calm down the immune system. And if you've got like rheumatoid arthritis, or just all the aging inflammation, they call old people inflammation, like the pain in the elbow, that might drop down significantly. If you've got an injury or something like that, of course, see manual therapists, and you could try injecting locally if you wanted to, or you could take the oral ones. They might work as well. There's fantastic naturopathic things. I'm not dogmatic with peptides. I know things like boswellia and curcumin and PEA. These are all really powerful natural things that you could try as well before you get to that step of, all right, that didn't work. Maybe I need to bring in the heavy hitters with the peptides.
I remember taking high strength curcumin and it didn't work at all. So I need the hard stuff.
I mean, the biggest thing I'll come back to, and I will say with complete honesty, is if you're living in mold and in a horrible environment, maybe none of these things are going to work well enough. Like especially mold, it makes you supplement resistant. Basically, at best, if you took the best protocol of peptides whilst you're still in mycotoxins, it's just going to make you 10% better, maybe keep you above water a little bit longer as a life jacket. You need to get out of it. Take it from me. It's 3 years in mold, had as much of the peptides at my disposal as I could, and it was just, rather than just falling off a cliff, it was a gradual decline in my health. And
so that was in Australia. That was in Australia. Is that why you moved to New Zealand?
Yeah.
Just because it's a less humid environment?
We moved to New Zealand, got full mycotoxin air testing on the house before we moved in.
Did you?
It all came out clear. I'm like, good, we're out of here. Because we went through 4 houses in of all the 6 houses tested in Australia, all of them had way elevated levels of all of the mold toxins, 6 times higher than the baseline one that we found in New Zealand. So mold still exists in New Zealand, just like it does in Portugal. But we found a sanctuary, and we're definitely healing now. And my brain's working better. My gut's finally simmering down. I honestly felt like a bit of an imposter selling this GI Repair product for years, having gut issues that just wouldn't go away with the product.
Yeah.
But that's because the mold just decimates your gut lining. You can't heal your gut if you're in mold. So
it's mad, isn't it? It just, and especially if you've got issues that are from mycotoxins and mold in the past, then when you get back in mold, I mean, I can spend, when we did this health, obviously we're here for the Health Optimization Summit, and last year we stayed in quite a cheap hotel because the hotels were so expensive. And I went and did one of those longevity tests, and my biological age came up 11 years higher than when I'd done it a year before. And I think it was simply because I was basically exposed to mold overnight in the nights preceding doing that test.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly it can happen when you've got that immune memory to mold, basically. for me and my partner, we end up puffing up in the face. I've seen photos of me,
Really?
of me having been in mold. Like I did a podcast with Luke Story. I was on that and I looked at myself like, oh my goodness, the histamine got me big time. I was puffed up in the face and watery red eyes. I'm like,
Yeah.
goodness, I'm just so sensitive to this. And it takes years before you lose that sensitivity. There's some really advanced things you can do to speed it up. Half of the range that I have with Level Up has been developed because of mold. I've got a histamine product. I've got a liver complex. Tudka is fantastic for clearing out sludgy bile, which mold causes. I have a hormone booster one because it tanked my testosterone levels. I'm developing all these other ones too that are all based around the learning experience, which mold was for me. I mean, I wish I didn't have to go through it, but goodness, what an education it was. So,
okay, well, what I want to do with this podcast is not just release it through my biohacking channels, but obviously the histamine ones as well, because you know, I just know people are, you know, a lot of people are desperate, and it's not always easy, is it? I mean, we're like you. We went through a number of homes, and obviously we live in a different country now. And one of the things I was really excited about moving to Portugal was I didn't want to live in a house with any carpets.
yes.
Because our place in Chiswick, the carpets, they just hold damp and mold and bacteria, and I could just tell that was not a sort of they're not easy to clean. God knows what's hiding underneath it. If you spill something and you don't really dry it out in 24 hours, then there's just mold underneath.
Yeah, it's setting yourself up for failure, isn't it?
Yeah.
We moved into a house that was 2 years old and they pulled up the carpets because we detected it. We did the air sample and it was just full of black mold. 2 years old, brand new build in Queensland. We're like, this house has got to be one. It's new. It's all done right. It's high up on the ground. There's good ventilation, but it was the mold. There was still mold there. So it's so hard to stay on top of this. And I personally believe, and I've seen good evidence that the amount of EMF in our environment is making it grow a lot faster. That's why it's such a problem now, as well as cheap building practices and materials.
Really,
and
I've
stuff.
never heard or thought of that link.
Yeah, the EMF causes stress to mold. Mold's very sensitive. If you piss it off, it grows fast. If you bring in a dehumidifier in a moldy environment, it will proliferate faster because you've made a suboptimal condition for mold growth. By pulling out the moisture, it's going to try and survive and spores will go everywhere. So that's one of the worst things you can do, despite it being one of the best things you can do for prevention, is bring in a dehumidifier into an already moldy environment. One of the other things that happens is the EMF causes cellular stress to humans and to mold. And it's up to 500 times the growth rate. I think his name's Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt. He proved that mold grows like significantly faster in the presence of EMF. And like 10, 15 years ago, mold was around, but I don't feel like it had this absolute debilitating virulence that it does now. And, you know, maybe 1 out of 100 people who lived in mold, everyone had some level of resistance to it. I'm not saying it wasn't around, but I feel like it's just so much worse now because of our Wi-Fi routers and our smart homes and all these other things that are one of maybe 10 things that are contributing to its growth. But it's a big driver.
Yeah. And mold, I feel, is an issue that's crossing over to the mainstream more. I'm surprised by how many normies I hear talking about mold and how they're sensitive to it or they're worried by it. And I don't feel like that used to be the case.
Yeah, well, even if you're normie, you're not into biohacking or health or anything like that, if you live in mold, you're going to learn real quick how damaging it is. It doesn't matter how resistant you are to it.
But you don't necessarily know, do you?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
You just get put on antipsychotics from your doctor. If you can't prove anything, your relationship might go to shit, and you don't know what happened. I had a very turbulent relationship with my partner when we were in mold, and we've been out of it for a year and had like one minor argument since then. Prior to that, there were some big ones, and I didn't recognize myself, to be honest. Combine that with a peptide that gets depleted from mold. We talked about that alpha MSH. Well, one of the branch off peptides that comes from that parent one is called PT141. And this is a libido boosting peptide. When we're deficient in alpha MSH, we then will have a deficiency in PT141, this peptide that people use for sexual arousal, for, they call it lady Viagra, because Viagra only works for men, right? With the blood flow. But this one works in the brain level, increasing arousal and, sexual drive.
Yeah.
Alpha MSH, tanked by mold, therefore PT141 is tanked by mold. You don't have that drive anymore. Combine that with reduction in your sex hormone levels, testosterone tanks, estrogen goes up too. It was really like a very, very, very suboptimal condition to be in. As a man, I felt really crap. And the other thing we spoke about, Viagra being a blood flow thing, mold ruins blood flow too. It creates fibrosis and ruins your circulation. So there's another issue that mold can cause, like you might be having relationship issues. you blame it on the other person when there's maybe mold behind your head in the bedroom. So that could be the big driver. And I actually wonder how many relationships have failed because of mold coming into the equation.
Right. God, that's nuts, isn't it? The circulation thing is something that I recognise for sure. And that's not 100% sorted for me, but it is nice living in a warmer climate.
Yeah, definitely.
Like right now, for example, my fingers are quite cold. I don't know if do you feel like that's fully sorted for you, or?
Sort of. I've always run pretty hot, and
Have you? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
No, it's the other peptide that comes from alpha MSH is melanotan, and the other thing that can be negatively impacted from lower MSH is melatonin. Melanocortin and melatonin. When you're in mold, you're not going to sleep well. Melatonin is an anti-inflammatory for the brain. That's why it really helps with people with neural inflammation and Alzheimer's, because it quenches inflammation in your brain. But if you are in the mold, it's got a lot of work to do to try and quench that neuroinflammation. Therefore, maybe your sleep's going to be disrupted. And when that fundamental thing, the number one in that hierarchy of healing, is disrupted, sleep, then the cascade effect, the downstream spiral from that is just catastrophic.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about muscle gain and what was it? The Wolverine.
The Wolverine stack.
The Wolverine stack. I want to talk to you about that in one sec. But peptides, are they safe?
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're naturally produced in the body. They've done safety studies on things like BPC, and they did something. They couldn't actually find a toxicity dose when they used up to like 18 grams of the stuff, or something. I'm going to say 18 milligrams or 18 grams, whatever it was hundreds of magnitudes more than the dose that you would actually use yourself. And they couldn't find a lethal dose or any level of toxicity from it. The reason they're safe is if your body doesn't need them, they just break down. They don't last long in your circulation. And therefore, if they've got no need, they just get broken down by hydrolase enzymes. They don't interact with the liver enzymes at all, so there's no interactions with medications. And yeah, our body knows what they are and knows what to do with them. And if it doesn't need them, they just float around until they break up.
Right, okay. Even with peptides that might sort of increase your metabolism or something like that?
So there's peptides that increase your metabolism, and then small molecules. And this is like this gray area between what peptides are and what small molecules are. There's peptide molecules called SLUPP332. There's ones like DNF10, which is a peptide. There's mitochondrial peptides. All of these, we kind of have to treat them like supplements in the sense that they all have their own unique profile. They have all their unique metabolism, their pharmacokinetics, and the downstream effects of supplementing it. If you take ones that are for the purposes of body composition, like GLP-1s, there are going to be side effects because GLP is only meant to be around in your system for a short period of time versus if you take a high dose of this injectable, it's hanging around for 6-7 days. You can have muscle wasting and all these other things that people talk about with Ozempic and semaglutide. But as far as safety of that one goes, it's pretty, even the worst case scenario, the pharma one, it's pretty safe compared to so many other things that people take and that are prescribed from the pharmaceutical route, that unless you're really stupid with them or you are reconstituting it and you mess up your dosages of things, that's one time that you can cause issues. They're very safe.
Good. Okay, so the Wolverine stack, and I was speaking to Angela Foster, who told me that her son had been on one of your products.
All right.
For muscle gain.
Yeah, well, that one doesn't even have peptides, the one her son's on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's botanabolic. That's the testosterone enhancement,
right?
Optimization of your hormones supplement that I created when I had my testosterone levels went around 300, which is about a third of where I wanted them at least. And that's the one I use to bring it back. It has all the most powerful, well-studied botanicals for increasing testosterone levels, reducing sex hormone binding globulin, and just basically restoring your manliness, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, her son was on that one, but the Wolverine one, I don't know if she's given it to him or not, but that's the combination of the BPC peptide with the other one that people use for healing, which is thymosin beta-4 or TB500. It's the synthetic form of that. When you take TB4, it needs to be injectable unless you take these little fragments. When I spoke about KPV, that is a small fragment of alpha MSH.
Yeah.
TB4 is a large 32, 34 amino acid peptide, way too big to work orally. So you need to do is look at that 32 amino acid long chain and find little fragments of it, isolate them out, remove the rest of it, and then you've got a 4 amino acid chain and a 7 one, and they're the ones that actually elicit the biological effects for musculoskeletal repair, for endothelial function, and antifibrotic.
So you're taking this Wolverine supplement, and what is it exactly is happening?
So by having the BPC, you'll be accelerating connective tissue repair. That's what it's really good for. That's why it helps with your gut. Your epithelial layer of your gut is mainly connective tissue. So that's why it helps with that. So, but BPC beyond the gut helps with, ligaments, tendons, all that connective tissue, the fascia, all those sort of things. So when people have an injury and they take it, they report it like halves their recovery time.
Right.
So
is it best for recovery then?
It's really good for recovery. It's really good for gut. It's really good for brain. The thing that pharma hate about it is how, multimodal its actions are.
Yeah.
It can help so many different things. If someone's taking it for, like, let's say they got a torn Achilles tendon or something like that, if they're taking it orally, they'd need a higher dose, especially if they have that gut inflammation. By taking it orally versus injectable, your gut's going to gobble it up and use it all first if you've got leaky gut or inflammation in your gut, and it mightn't actually help too much the injury to your Achilles tendon or whatever it is, or your ACL. Or
it's nuts. I had so many issues, injury, inflammation issues with my knees when I was younger, and in my 20s, and I always had the histamine and stuff and the gut stuff going on at the same time. And talking to you now, I realized that it was really hard for the rest of my body to heal when my gut wasn't healed.
100%.
And now at 51, I feel way stronger all over my body than I ever have, and definitely more than I did in my 20s, because I guess the rest of the body can do its job because the gut is working better.
Yeah, well, when you've got an injury, your immune system is ultimately what orchestrates the healing for it. We don't want to quench inflammation in the short term. It's really good. That's why icing an injury straight after it mightn't be the best thing. You might slow down that healing process. Well, if you've got your immune system preoccupied with that gut inflammation, then again, you're going to have way too much inflammation. And then it's kind of like having an army that's sort of on multiple fronts rather than focused on the one battle that's most important, be it that your injury or whatever niggling micro tear that you might have got from doing sport is. So that's where BPC, using that orally, can really help. It's kind of like bringing in the blueprints for repair. You've got all of the tools that your body needs to repair already from, hopefully you do. You're taking collagens, your gelatin, you've got a good rich diet in amino acids, and you can take some other supplements that help with healing too. But bringing in the peptides causes a cascade of signaling to your body to elicit that repair process and to trigger that. So
great.
Yeah, they're great.
and from a longevity perspective, that is something that's increasingly harder the older we get. So that's interesting. And then from a purely selfish perspective, I have always, even when I work really hard in the gym, struggled to build muscle and put on weight. And is that something that peptides can help with?
They can, for sure. There's, as far as for like testosterone is a big part of it. That's why people go on TRT, or they go way beyond TRT and get huge. Test plays a huge role in it. And
but TRT can have massive side effects, can't it?
It can, especially when doctors don't do it right. There's definitely a good selection of people who do it right, and I never would talk someone out of doing it if they've got someone who knows what they're doing. If they don't, then there's a huge array of side effects. But as far as peptides go, growth hormone's the main thing that the peptides can act on. That's just one of the anabolic pathways that you can sort of trigger or leverage for muscle growth. There's IGF-1 that you can use, insulin growth factor. You can inject IGF-1. Bodybuilders have done this for years. It works. They can inject human growth hormone, HGH. That's also a peptide. But you can also inject, and this is a smarter approach to muscle gain if you are wanting to gain muscle injecting peptides, is you can inject the secretagogues and the growth hormone stimulating peptide. GHRH is growth hormone releasing peptides, and the ones that stimulate their release. Those are CJC, and there's ipamorelin, tesamorelin, there's kisspeptin, there's all these other peptides that really help boost your own body's natural production of growth hormone, which is a smarter way to do it than just giving exogenous hormones, because the same as poorly done TRT, if you give too much of a hormone, your body will shut down. Growth hormone's the same.
And too much growth hormone there can be cancer issues, can't there?
It can be, for sure. As well as, like, even if you don't get cancer, you get really puffy. You can end up like with huge puffiness on your face and weight gain. And they call it a GH belly when guys take too much growth hormone and they get this like gorilla looking belly. So
okay. So how do you know if you're taking too much?
I think
You
work
just
with
get
someone.
the GH belly or
Yeah,
work with someone. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's very good information on how to dose the peptides. I would definitely look at the ipamorelin, tesamorelin, CJC combination for that, because again, they have this level of safety that you can't force your body to make more than is physiologically appropriate. Because they're naturally occurring ones. So versus if you just give growth hormone, that is a naturally occurring peptide, but it's kind of like, well, testosterone's naturally occurring too.
Yeah.
We're giving way too much. We shut down that feedback loop. So those are the ones. There's other peptides that are really interesting that I'll be using in the Level Up range soon. They don't really work on growth hormone, but they're like, you've heard of BCAAs and leucine.
Yeah.
And there's one called dileucine, which Sean Wells, he developed. That one's really good. I don't think it has the robustness for muscle growth that a growth hormone releasing peptide would, but it's certainly one of the smartest ways to trigger that insulin, IGF-1, and that's through that dileucine. So it's like twice as beneficial as taking leucine. That's a peptide that's completely legal to take if you're in sports. The other ones, probably not, definitely not. Okay. BPC is wider banned, which they tend to ban everything that works really well, which is annoying for athletes, but and TB4 is banned as well. So I think if you're a professional athlete competing and getting tested, stay away from the peptides for now, just to be cautious. But dileucine's one that's actually completely approved. Yeah. There's other ones too, like Peptistrong, which is another peptide they found from fava beans, which, you know, enhances muscle growth and recovery. And yeah, there's so much innovation going on in this space at the moment. It's really, and
you're
exciting.
Innovating a lot as well. How old are you?
32.
32. So you're very young to have innovated this much, and it must have been quite intimidating, because I'm sure the raw ingredients and the research for your company requires quite a bit of investment to set it all up.
Yeah, it'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it, yeah.
Yeah.
It will be worth it.
Well, they are the future of medicine.
They are the future of medicine, yeah.
And biohacking and just general health. Like, as I said, so many people are running around life with a peptide deficiency. So if we can provide these things in a really convenient way, be it sublingual, be it capsules, be it topical or transdermal, then, you know, people are going to start healing a lot faster than what is currently available with botanicals and vitamins and stuff like that. So yeah,
it's really exciting. You know, I think quality of life as well, just like inflammation just robs people of quality of life, doesn't it? And what we've spoken about today, it really strikes me that this is really important and a fascinating area. Now, I want to ask you about your biohacking day. What does your routine look like? And this is a new series that we're doing, which is the midweek episode. It's just a few minutes long.
Sure.
What does your morning routine look like? And I always like asking parents, because it's quite different from a non-parent. There's no sort of like airy-fairy meditation for 2 hours when you've got 3 kids to look after.
No, absolutely not. As a parent, I had this intricate sauna and red light therapy and vibration plate routine 3.5 years ago, prior to my son being born and me becoming a dad of 2 step-kids. So I had this really awesome routine and working out and breath work and all the good stuff. And now it's just wake up before the toddler wakes up, try and squeeze in a workout, try and get a bit of vibe plate to get, you know, the lymphatic system going. And honestly, just supplements, to be honest. It's nothing special. We do have what is it called? A clear light sauna? Not a clear light. Anyway, it's one of the ones where your head pops through it. I do that one with ozone, just because I'm still trying to move all the mold toxin out of my body and detox all of the things that has accumulated in my body through life. I have high levels of pesticides. Having grown up where I did in Australia, they have one of the highest uses of pesticides in the world. We did the testing, and I'm still trying to make sure that that's out of my system, because my mum actually, part of the reason I know so much at 32 is my mum got cancer and passed to the medical system and cancer simultaneously. So we tested her pesticide levels, and pretty much all of the ones that you could test were through the roof. So that was a huge contributing factor to her getting her cancer. So I've seen that. I've been in the trenches with her for 8 years. I was in the trenches with her for 8 years, and I do not want that for myself. So that's why I at least 3 to 4 times a week still do sauna. And HOCATs, ozone saunas, are a fantastic way to absolutely maximize the benefits of sauna.
So what's that?
Ozone. And
ozone
it's
sauna?
Just ozone into the sauna. We seal it up around your neck. You bathe in ozone, and it basically helps you detox a lot faster.
Wow.
Yeah. I think there's a exhibitor called HOCAT that will be at the conference. Yeah. People need to look into HOCATs if they've got mold toxicity too.
Okay. Well, I will. And then anything else interesting in your routine? What about evening routines? How do you, as a parent, how do you look after yourself enough when there are so many demands on your day? Because it's hard, isn't it?
Well, essentially Level Up's range has developed based on my personal needs or my partner's.
I love it.
And now I'm getting to the cortisol needs. I'm working so many hours, and the 2.5-year-old going through the terrible twos, and just life is getting busy. So I'm working on an AM formula for adaptogens, licorice root, rhodiola, all the good things to give you that morning cortisol support, and then some for the PM to just absolutely crash your cortisol so you can have a good night's sleep. That's what I've been working on. Phosphatidylserine's been really good for that, as well as an ingredient called amodin, which is like the cortisol canceller, so to speak. It's fantastic. You will pee bright orange when you take amodin if you do, but it works so well at clearing out cortisol and helping you sleep.
No way. That sounds really interesting, because I feel like all my life I've had every once in a while, in fact most days, an underlying sort of anxiety that just I don't know, it feels like a tension I'm holding on to, and often when I microdose psilocybin that just goes away. And I sort of think, what was I worried about? What was I tense about? And that sounds like that product might help with that.
Yeah, it could definitely help with that. Phosphatidylserine is probably the best one. It will reduce your cortisol levels, but also if you take it in the morning, give you a nice nootropic boost too. It helps with acetylcholine. So amodin is really...
Is it like a GABA?
Not for GABA. GABA definitely helps too. It will give you that anti-anxiety effect. But a peptide that you might really benefit from is called Selank. Okay. It's a Russian bioregulator peptide that you can take as a nasal spray.
Okay. Do you sell it?
No. Soon, maybe. I don't know. But it's actually a pretty easy one to acquire. It's not like some of these random ones that you have to inject. As a nasal spray, fantastic. You just spray it up your nose. Powerful anti-anxiety effects. It actually, I believe, outperforms SSRIs, which isn't actually hard when they're not addressing the root cause of why people are anxious. They're just sort of chemical straitjacketing them for a while and hoping it works. But yeah, Selank's really good for as a peptide that you can, it's pretty cheap as well. You can do as a nasal spray, really helps with anxiety. Yeah. BPC actually has effects too for the brain. It increases GABAergic tone to your brain too, so that can really help with anxiety as one of the many downstream benefits of people taking it for recovery or gut health.
Interesting. Well, I've never taken BPC, so I will try it.
Absolutely.
And the Wolverine as well. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing at night, what time are you going to bed?
Varies, probably 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Yeah. It's we find, and especially when Stan was a toddler, if you go to bed any later and he's waking up early at 6 o'clock in the morning, that's it. Mm-hmm. You're done for.
Well, my biohacking, what's left of it is dependent on me getting up early. So 10 o'clock's the hard cutoff. If I'm getting up at 4:35, I need to get to bed by 10 to actually still have some time for myself to do the health things that I want to.
Yeah, exactly. Kyal, so lovely to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks,
where can people find out more about your company and everything you're doing?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the main place I'm at. I need to diversify a little bit, but LVLUP Health.com and at LVLUP Health on Instagram are the two places I'm at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to hear what people listening make of what we've talked about today, because I just know people are going to be coming to you for help, trying your supplements out. And you're diversifying away from peptides as well, aren't you, in your range?
Yeah, well, we spoke about the regulatory issues around them. I kind of don't want to be left without a paddle for the business. So having basically becoming a nutraceutical company that also does peptides is the long-term goal. But like, the peptides are so powerful, I'll never turn my back on them if I can keep providing them. And yeah, I'm basically just trying to provide the best tools to help people heal, no matter what it is. That's the long-term goal of the business. If someone has a health issue, I want to at least have one product that can help them.
Amazing. Kyal, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Tony.